Junko Furuta, a name that continues to echo through Japan's collective memory. Not for what she did, but for what was done to her. She was just 17 years old, a bright student, a loyal friend, a daughter with big dreams. But in late 1988, her life was taken in one of the most heartbreaking and disturbing crimes the world has ever known. Today, we remember Junko Furuta, not just as a victim, but as a human being, as a young woman with hopes and a future, stolen in the cruelest way imaginable. This is her story. Junko Furuta was born on January 18, 1971, in Misato, Saitama Prefecture, Japan, a quiet suburban town just north of Tokyo. She was the middle child in a loving family, and by all accounts, she lived a typical life. Her parents were hard-working and strict, but supportive. She had an older and a younger sibling. At school, Junko was well-liked by classmates and respected by teachers. She wasn't a troublemaker, nor did she hang with the wrong crowd. She focused on her studies and even worked a part-time job after school. Her dream? To attend university, land a good job, and one day build a life she could be proud of. But Junko's world would change forever in the fall of 1988, and no one could have predicted the horror that awaited her. On November 25, 1988, Junko left school in the evening, just like any other day. She was walking home after her part-time shift, but she would never make it. It began with a setup. One of her classmates, a boy she barely knew, intentionally bumped into her and pretended to need help. When Junko stopped to assist, she was ambushed by a group of teenage boys. These boys were not ordinary delinquents. They were part of a local gang with ties to the Yakuza. Junko was taken, kidnapped, and brought to one of their homes. Over the following days, she was held captive. Her family, unaware of her fate, reported her missing. Flyers were distributed, prayers were offered. But Junko was trapped in a nightmare with no way to reach out, and no one yet able to save her. What followed over the next 44 days was unimaginable. Junko Furuta was kept in secret inside the home of one of the boys. The parents of her captors knew she was there, and yet they said nothing. Fear of the gang's violent connections kept neighbors and even family silent. It is one of the most disturbing aspects of this case, how so many people failed to intervene even as the horror dragged on. Her captors tortured her, emotionally and physically, day after day. She begged for freedom but was met with cruelty. Despite her suffering, it's said that Junko never gave in to despair. She fought for her dignity until the very end. In late December, her condition worsened. She was unable to move, unable to speak. The captors finally realized she was dying. And on January 4, 1989, just 2 weeks before her 18th birthday, Junko Furuta's heart stopped. Her body was discarded in a concrete drum. Her killers thought they had buried the secret. But justice, as slow as it may be, would soon come knocking. On January 23, 1989, police arrested 2 of the boys on unrelated charges. During the investigation, one of them broke down and confessed to Junko's murder. Her remains were discovered soon after. Japan and the world were shaken to their core. 4 teenage boys were arrested and tried. But due to their age and Japan's juvenile justice system, they received shockingly light sentences, ranging from 5 to 20 years. Their identities were initially protected, but the public, outraged, leaked their names. For many, it felt like justice had not been served. How could something so brutal, so calculated, result in such lenient punishment? Junko's parents attended every hearing. Her mother fainted during the trial. Her father reportedly considered suicide. Yet despite everything, the Furuta family maintained their dignity. The case was widely reported in Japan and eventually around the world. The press dubbed it the concrete-encased high school girl murder case. But many refused to use that name, saying it reduced Junko to a victim, to a statistic. Instead, people began using her full name, Junko Furuta, to remind the world that she was more than what happened to her. Her story sparked public debate about juvenile crime, victim rights, and the failures of the justice system. It also led to calls for reform and greater accountability. But for many, her story remains a symbol of innocence lost, and a reminder of what happens when silence becomes complicity. More than 3 decades have passed since Junko's life was stolen. And yet the memory of that young girl, her smile, her dreams, her potential, continues to haunt us. Junko Furuta is remembered not for how she died, but for who she was. A kind-hearted teenager with goals and ambitions. A daughter who deserved to graduate, to fall in love, to grow old. We tell her story not to glorify tragedy, but to ensure it is never repeated. To Junko, you were failed by many. But today, you are not forgotten. Your name lives on, and so does the hope that justice, one day, will truly be enough. Thank you for watching. If you found this story moving, please like, share, and subscribe for more true crime documentaries. Let us never forget those whose voices were taken away too soon. For resources on youth violence prevention and victim support, check the links in the description.